fuck surf there at still is lost my aunt was scared me to the club, you know, me fellow was telling me that he fuck the see it sounds like it was you know, it our feeling that them sketch open the these get smashed to be fucking yours. Perfect. It's the last of the Ethiopian from Tenacia. I had one scoop of that and one scoop of the Starbucks holiday blend that was given to me. And no, I wouldn't buy Starbucks, but I don't turn it down if it's given to me. And it's good. I made it in the new French press. The link for the French press was on yesterday's video. I like it. It works well. I like the double-walled aspect of it where it keeps the heat in. I don't have to transfer it to a thermos for my second cup. This is good. I'm thinking of doing a video on the benefits of Stoicism and how that's needed right now, because some people say, well, what the hell is Stoicism? Stoicism keeps you from being a sheep. It keeps you from reacting, overreacting to things. It keeps you from overcorrecting things. For instance, even as a Christian, I can remain stoic. I don't have to act anyway. I don't have to 10 people can act a certain way. I don't have to act like those 10 people to the same piece of news. Stoicism keeps you from overreacting when your wife says that she no longer wants to be married and that she tells you she's been seeing someone else. Stoicism keeps you from throwing a chair through a window and smashing all the plates and kicking the dog and grabbing your wife by the throat. That's what Stoicism does. Stoicism keeps you from honoring or worshiping. There's a difference between honoring and worshiping people in uniform of any type. Just think of various things that people put on that identify them with their work or their calling. Stoicism keeps you from worshiping uniforms. It keeps you from worshiping symbols, people in general. You remain nice and even-keeled. But no, some of you want to worship uniforms and the things that people put on and badges and symbols. We don't do that as Stoics. We are the adults in the room. There are a lot of benefits to being a stable Stoic, and I want you to be that way. This pandemic has brought the absolute worst out of people. And hopefully the wishy-washy, emotional, uniform, skin color, worshiping idiots are long gone by now. You respond to life, not react to life. Don't be drawn to the dark side of Amateurville. It's a riptide you can't get out of. If you're going to do it right. Have we heard from the family of the old couple that got slaughtered at the cemetery in Delaware? Have we heard anything from them? Does anyone know anything about that? There was a couple in their mid-80s, 86, 88 or something like that, visiting the grave of their Down syndrome son in a cemetery. And a black dude with a rifle that had a scope on it went out geriatric hunting on purpose. Shot the old woman. She died on the spot. Shot the old man. He got rushed to the hospital. Died there. This might be the first time you heard about it. Cops chased the dude into the woods. They're not sure if he died from a self-inflicted wound or from police gunfire. We have no idea. You don't hear much about that, do you? But what you're hearing about is a black jogger who wasn't jogging. Because I always go out jogging in Timberland, untied Timberland work boots and cargo pants. I always do that. I just got back from it. I want to hear from his father. What does his father have to say? somebody show me the response of his father. You see, what's happening is I'm looking at the bigger picture here. Everyone's looking at the close-up. A Stoic looks at the aerial view of things. You want to focus on a black jaw, you go right ahead. What I'm looking at are the people who are stoking the fires and want you and me to be enemies. I said it once this week with very little response from you. And I'm repeating it because it deserves repeating. There are people that want you and me to be enemies. Whether you're black or white or Republican or Democrat or female or male or Asian or wear a uniform or don't, or worship or don't, or drive a car or drive a motorcycle, are working at night or working during the day. Watch YouTube on a computer, watch YouTube on a mobile device. They want us all to be at each other's throats. Are you buying it or not? Execute your moves flawlessly, especially job moves. Dig the well before you are thirsty. Don't wait for the manure to hit the fan before you get out of Dodge. It's harder to sell yourself or make something happen when you are hungry. There's a certain desperation. There's a confidence that you have when you're not hungry. There's a desperation you have when you are hungry. It's almost like going out to pick up a chick and you're desperate. She knows you're desperate. You look desperate, you talk desperate, you act desperate. And then there's the dude who goes out just having a good time. And the girl does a double take on him. Wait, there's a man who isn't desperate. I need to get to know him. And then that man has his choice of 10 women that night. There's something to being competent, confident, and not thirsty. Yesterday, I almost told somebody to go home and get their shine box. Some of you understand what that means. Birds, my birds, my birds. They're such creatures of habit and of trust. You change one bird feeder location, switch it around. I probably have 5 bird feeders out there. Switch it around, and all of a sudden the place goes quiet for a couple days. They're checking it out. It's one of the things I love about birds. They don't trust easily, but when they do, they're with you forever. You made a first-class fool out of me, but I'm as blind as a fool can be. You stole my heart, but I love you anyways. Rod Stewart, from the song Maggie May in 1971. Isn't music amazing? Where men just display their idiocy and weakness. But I love you anyway. Here's my version of that line. You tried to make a first-class fool out of me. Now you're dead to me. You're invisible. You don't exist. And I don't love you. See you. Goodbye. George Bruno, 2020. Rick Bragg, one of my favorite writers of all time. He hated his father when he was growing up. After his dad died, he became a stepdad himself. He then went on a journey to find somebody who could say something good about his father. His dad was a prick. Not a good guy. And he was just dying. Was there any redeeming qualities about my dad? The older folks said that when his dad was a boy and a young man, he was a good boy and a fine young man before he fell apart. Aha, somebody said something good about his father, but they had to go back decades and decades and decades. He says, I just wanted to know the man who died from bad luck, bad decisions, and too much whiskey. His best friend said, right up until the day he died, your father continued to talk about how much he loved his wife and his boys and how he regretted the way things turned out. This is from the book The Prince of Frogtown by Rick Bragg. Magnificent writer. He wrote for the New York Times, Southern Living magazine, many books. He has over 50 awards for writing. It might be time for you to discover Rick. And I know you're thinking New York Times. Don't think that. This might be one of the handful of writers that I really enjoy from the New York Times. Rick once said, marrying a woman with a child is like a dog chasing a car and then catching it and then thinking, okay, what the heck do I do with this car now? Right? Dogs chase cars down the street. Then what are they going to do with them? But it gave him an opportunity to be a father, which he was a stepfather, which sparked his own journey into his researching his father's life. I enjoy Rick Bragg the same way I enjoy Garrison Keillor. Same way. Do you like Garrison Keillor? I'm on a email list of unique properties, available unique properties. And I get it every day. I get lists of unique not just a house, but a lodge, a healing center, a campground that is no longer operating. Unique places. And as soon as I see California, New York, or Virginia, I'm like, no thanks. Click, delete. California, you have screwed yourself over so bad, nobody wants to go there anymore. New York State, screw you. I'm from New York. I wouldn't go back there if you paid me. Virginia, forget it. You're about to confiscate everybody's guns. And I know some people say, well, there's a difference between the DC suburbs in Virginia and the rest of the state. I know that, but it's those DC suburbs that rule the state, just like New York, exactly like New York. The values of New York City affect how the rest of the state is treated. It's a beautiful state. I love the lakes and the trails and the mountains, and upstate New York is absolutely magnificent, but unfortunately, you are suffering from the bad rap of New York City, which is the toilet of New York. Nothing like a Q follower lecturing me, a patriot, on misinformation. That took the prize yesterday. So I'm going to believe these anonymous emails coming in on a daily basis from Q, but you're calling me a conspiracy theorist when I talk about vaccines and chips and all that kind of stuff. That's interesting. Hence, I need to distance myself from many of the Q people. Now I know, some people call them Q-tards. Now I know why they call them that name. They're talking about something that's 100% anonymous, 100% speculation. And I've said this 100 times this week. I'll come back to Q when heads roll and I see prosecutions happen. Until then, you're all nut jobs. Sorry. Anyone else tired of the phrase old school? Oh, he's an old school barber. That's like back in the day. Another phrase that I can't stand. Back in the day. Well, if you were born in 2000, 2010 was back in the day. Same with old school. I love it when barbers talk about being an old school barber. You see that a lot. It's almost like a marketing thing. I'm an old school barber. What the hell does that mean? What, you're dirty? I'm so old school that when we are allowed to go back to work, I'm doing bloodletting. Now that's old school. And if you need a tooth pulled, I'll be happy to do that too. That's what old school barbers did. Trust nobody. Trust nobody. Not even the one you voted for. Ooh. I believe someone is good for the country when I see good things happening. No war and a good economy are not enough for me. sitting back and giving the nod to vaccines, potentially mandatory vaccines, is enough for me to almost withdraw my support. I never thought I'd live to see the day when a president of the United States would raise an army to invade his own country. That was from the screenplay of Gods and Generals, where Robert E. Lee was speaking of Lincoln. Yesterday I was a guest on a podcast and I didn't curse once. Honestly, not once. There is progress here. The lockdown, what a great opportunity for you to have sex every day. Trim that waist. Get closer to your spouse. But you slept in the spare bedroom, you whacked off, and you watched more Netflix. But your wife's colleague at work hasn't stopped texting her, and she's kind of liking it now. Good job. Why does temptation always have to be something negative? You ever wonder about that? Rarely does one say, "You're tempting me to do 50 push-ups, get a good night's sleep, or drop 10 pounds." Temptation is usually the stuff that keeps you from doing the push-ups, getting to bed early, and walking 2 miles a day. It's funny how temptation works. I have some great conversations coming up this weekend. Stay tuned for conversations with interesting people, people that I think are interesting, friends of mine. I've always collected interesting friends. My friends don't have to be exactly like me. Thank goodness they're not. They look different, think different, act different. And I enjoy talking to them. And I think you will enjoy listening to me talk with them. So stay tuned for that this weekend. Some specials coming out. Don't forget to click the links down below. Sponsor for today's show is Tactical Soap. The best one is citrus and hops. That is called Maverick 2, and I like Bond 2, which is a timber smell, like a woodsy smell. I like the more natural fragrances. I really enjoy them. Check them out today. They support the show. Dus hier is de rail. Hier is de nes. Zo, hier leert nooit. Was er weer een rond in de
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. All done.
Well, that was weird.